My name's Miles Craven. Today I'd like to take you on a journey through time. Usually when we hear about stories from world wars and our past military history, we hear a lot from our veterans who were overseas and who know what happened during the fighting and the wars. We don't hear a lot about our civilian life and what happened around here in America. Today we're going to be talking to Joanne Stram, and I think that she can provide us with some insight and a little bit of knowledge as to how life was here, back home, when everything was going on overseas. Let's hear her story.
It's great to see you today, Joanne. How are you enjoying the nice weather that we've been having the last few days?
I love it. It finally feels like spring.
Yeah, I agree. I've been waiting for it for a long time. So today I'm just going to be asking you some questions about how your life was affected by the events of the Korean War. We often get a really good look at how life was for soldiers during the times of the battles and through stories and accounts that the veterans bring back with them, but we don't usually hear a lot about how events affected our civilians here at home. So that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out a little bit today. Just kind of wanted to get your point of view from all of it. So first of all, I know during the period that this was all going on, I know you were in high school. So you said it was about 15, 16 years old, about what, like sophomore?
I would say I was in my freshman year of high school. We just went on with our everyday lives. We were aware of soldiers going off to war. But I think we try to keep things normal at home, and of course we watched our spending, and people worried about their relatives that were overseas in the war, and
all right. I guess were there any effects or any different things that you noticed how you went to school, and if things were any different at school for you, like whether your teachers acted differently or whether you, I guess, whether it messed up your focus or your concentration on work or anything like that?
no, it did not. We just went to school, did our classes. I'm sure we discussed it a little bit in history classes. I can't recall being afraid. I think they try to keep it calm for children,
Yeah.
not to have them worry when they're at school.
Yeah, I can kind of relate to that because when the 9/11 attacks happened and I was in school, they told us that something had happened and kind of gave us an idea of what was going on. A lot of us, I was in 6th or 7th grade, so I didn't know a lot of the details or a lot of what was going on or what it was all about, but I knew something was happening, so I guess, yeah, they tried to keep that calm as well, so I can understand that. You said a little bit of, you might have discussed a little bit in history class how things were going to change, or?
I think they did. I took American history when I was a sophomore or junior. We talked mostly about the history from the past in the United States, or studied
Right.
the wars.
All right. So I guess a kind of a follow-up to that. You kind of answered this, but was it difficult then for you personally to focus on any normal tasks or activities every day, or you just kind of went about your business?
No, we just went about our life, and of course every so often we'd hear of somebody that was killed in the war, and we didn't have anybody in our family that was over there at that time, except your grandpa, who I didn't know at the time.
All right.
And he was there.
Yeah. It was a few years later you met him, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Probably about 3 years after he got back.
Okay. Well, do you know for sure how old he was when he went over?
He probably would have been 19,
Okay.
maybe, because he was in his first year of college. And he went to Korea, and he was back in 1952.
All right. He didn't do much of the fighting or anything, right? He was.
No,
at
he was a
desk most of the time.
sergeant. He was at the line, but he mostly did the office work because he had had some college.
All right.
Or he had a desk job, I should say. But he had to send soldiers out into the battle, and that affected him
Oh yeah, I bet.
because some never came back.
Yeah, that would be tough. I don't know that I could handle a job like that because knowing the potential consequences of it.
Right.
So. All right. So, like you kind of said already as well, it didn't really affect your family life or your home life. Did you see any
No.
change in
No.
anything there? All right. So what about like in society, in like a big picture, people around town or people around, just in the world? Did you notice anything changing there?
Well, we lived in the country,
Right.
and we weren't around a lot of the social life. I'm sure people talked about the war whenever they got together for visiting. Everybody is concerned when our country's in war, and
Right.
feeling sorry for the families that did lose family members.
Did you know anybody in that time that had family over there or anyone close to them?
No, not personally.
All right.
I
Okay.
had a first cousin that was in the service too during that time,
Oh, really?
but he was in Massachusetts,
Oh.
and he died there.
Did
He
he?
drowned.
Oh. Was that during his
But
training or?
It was during the war.
Oh, okay. Was he in training or just,
I'm not sure.
no?
He was older than me, and when you're young, you don't pay that much attention to what rank or where they're going or.
Right. Well, that's kind of a tragic story. I never knew that. But, yeah. Well, I guess the next question I have then, when the war ended, did everything go back to normal like it was before, or was there any significant changes made to how things were done in the country, or any new laws passed or anything like that?
Well, if there was, I don't remember them.
Alright, so were there any, I guess, hearing about all of it and, knowing it was going on, were there any values and you kind of took with you after those experiences to kind of live by and learn from, or?
I think probably the feeling that most people had was the relief after the war was over, and of course I'm sure there was a lot of remorse from the people being killed in the war.
Right.
That as far as affecting everyday life, the people went on with their business, and veterans come back. There were a lot of them that came back wounded and severe wounds that they probably had carried the rest of their lives.
Right.
And,
So pretty much
I can't
everybody
think of
just
it.
kinda-
I mean, not personally, I didn't know any.
Alright. So pretty much everybody just kind of moved forward and
Yeah.
got on with it.
We were more concerned about, like you would be when you're in high school, you're more concerned about your everyday life.
Right,
And
your tests or your
Yeah, I'm
boyfriend or
parents kept things from us. And
right, right. That makes sense to me. So, yeah, I guess was there anything else around this time or around any part of your life that you'd like me to know about or want to talk to me about or?
Well, I was just probably a typical teenager in high school that was waiting to graduate.
Right. So you mentioned Grandpa in the war before. How did you guys end up meeting?
We met after he was out of college and I was out of high school, and we were both working at Marathon. It was Ohio Oil back then, which eventually became Marathon Oil.
Right.
And we met there, like a lot of other married couples did. There was always a lot of single girls and a lot of bachelors
Yeah.
at the big office.
Mm-hmm.
And you think there was like 1,600 employees in the general office at that time.
Awesome. So did you guys just, run into each other and just kind of start talking?
Actually, we had mutual friends. I had a friend, and she was dating a friend of your grandpa's, and they just sort of got us together.
Wow. That's awesome. How long were you guys married for?
How long were we married?
Yeah.
53 years.
53. Okay, I knew it was up there, I just couldn't remember. But,
It was about 2 years after, or 2 weeks after he died. It would have been our 53rd.
yeah, I remember that for sure, obviously. But that was, I mean, that's great though. I mean, being able to spend that much time with somebody and it's definitely could be a challenge, I suppose, and I'm sure you guys went through your rough patches like most couples do. So.
Well, Grandpa still had, he didn't talk about the war very much. He was over there, he saw soldiers that didn't, soldiers went out that never came back, and that affected him.
Right.
And he also, some nights would, I'm sure was having nightmares, and he would jump out of bed and yell. It was like he was still over in the war, during the war.
Huh. And you never would have known based on the way he, acted with his grandkids and stuff. I mean,
No, he never really talked about the war, and I'm sure a lot of other veterans are the same way, that they would just as soon not discuss it.
Right.
They never brought it up, and
Right. It's definitely one of those experiences that, it's something you don't forget, and so I can understand not talking about it, but yeah, that's great. I didn't know a lot of that about, Grandpa and his involvement and stuff in the war, so it was nice to learn for sure. But yeah, so I guess that's really all the questions I have. Is there anything else that, you got for me? You got any questions I can answer?
well, I know I can remember back to World War II. There were things that left an impression for the rest of your life, like they would have blackouts,
Right.
and
Remember hearing
that would
about
be
that.
scary for little kids.
Uh-huh.
Which I remember being scared because I thought if they saw any lights at all, they were going to come over and bomb us.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I mean, I was down in elementary school then. And then I remembered when the war was over and everybody was celebrating. Of course, World War II went on for quite a while.
Oh, yeah, that lasted a long time. You said so it ended in celebration and a lot of, excitement.
Well, yes, people were happy, and a lot of them were dancing in the street.
Yeah. Did World War II have any effect on your family personally at all, or not too much, or?
No, I had a couple uncles that were in the service, and neither one of them were overseas. Well, one was in Hawaii, Pearl Harbor,
Right.
which was not part of the United States then.
Right. Was that after it had been bombed or before, or?
I don't know if he was there during the bombing. I know he wasn't injured.
Oh, well, that's good.
That would have been your great grandpa's brother, my father's
Right.
brother.
Yeah, and I remember great grandpa Smith pretty well. Well, for the most part, he wasn't around too much because I was still pretty young when he passed.
Yeah, you would have been.
All right.
He died in 2001.
Right. So then that would have been.
You were born in 89.
Right. That would have been
11.
10, 11. Yep. 11, almost 12. So yeah, I remember going over to their house a lot and going and seeing him and stuff. So yeah, that was always a good time too.
Long time ago.
Yeah, very long
For
time.
you.
Very long time ago. I don't know how I remember half the stuff I do about him. So, but yeah. But yeah, I mean if that's all you got for me. I mean, I don't really have anything else either.
I can't think of anything else.
No,
I know during World War II we had food rationing
Oh really?
that I don't remember having it during the Korean War.
Yeah, it wasn't as serious. I feel like as the Second World War was. With the,
It didn't go on as long.
yeah, no, it only lasted a few years. So. All right. Well, this was one of the most interesting interviews that I've done. I certainly learned a lot, and I guess some of the stuff that I didn't know, some of the stuff I knew already from talking to my mom and kind of like looking up about the war and stuff and researching on my own. But a lot of the stuff that you talked to me about and told me about, I never would have figured out without talking to you. So I really appreciate the information.
Did you ever see the notebook that your cousin Lane did on your grandpa's being in the Korean War? She interviewed him.
No, I don't think I did.
It's up there in the bookshelf.
I'll have to check it out sometime. Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely be looking at that too.
And
So.
I'll have to look at it someday.
Yeah, certainly. But yeah, thank you again for your time and all the
You're welcome.
information. I appreciate it. And it was good to see you as always. So,
You too, Miles.
so yeah, if there's anything you think of later that you want to talk to me about, please let me know. And
I will. Does it have to pertain to the war?
anything at all. Anything at all. So,
Could I ask you for advice anytime?
oh yeah, of course.
Or do you want me to give you some lessons?
I could probably use plenty of lessons.
That's what
too.
grandparents are for, you know.
Right. So, all right. Well, thank you again, Joanne. I appreciate it.
I'm grandma to you.
Right.
I hope that after hearing about Joanne's life during this time, everyone who watches this is able to take something away from it. It was not only interesting to me to do this interview because I've always been interested in our military history, but also because Joanne is my grandmother. It's always nice to be able to learn something new about one's family, and I would jump at the chance to do another interview like this some other time. Thank you.